Hey, hello, everyone. Hi, Mark. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Harneet. How are you guys?
Hey everyone, doing well. Thank you, Shan. How are you?
Yeah, good too. Great. All right. So it's not like a very good time for me in the middle of the night, but let's start with we're here to talk about the all new MVP 2.0 program that's recently been launched by ServiceNow. So we'll be going in all the details, but before starting off with the session, let's start with a quick round of introductions. So I like we have got some really great veteran MVPs with us today. So Mark, he's a 8-time MVP, and Ellen, he's a 5-time ServiceNow MVP. So like many of you who will be watching this stream, they already know who they are, right? On the community, on the socials, but still, let's do a quick round of introductions. So starting with you, Mark.
Yeah, good afternoon or good morning, good evening, because we are all around the globe.
Yep.
Yeah, Mark Roethof. Yeah, joining today. Really excited. Also for the ServiceNow MVP 2.0 program. So excited to talk about that. Um, yeah, really short. Now for 7 years in the ServiceNow ecosystem. Working now for 1.5 years as a freelancer. Yeah, and like mentioned, I'm 8-time MVP now, so yeah, happy for that. Yeah, let's keep it with it. Let's keep it short.
Nice. Thank you, Mark. And Ellen.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Alan Andreas. Five-time ServiceNow Community MVP has been mentioned since 2018 and a half, somewhere around June there. I got really involved with the ServiceNow community. Certified Master Architect. I actually just finished that program this year back in June. So whoop whoop to that. That was a great experience. Total of 9 years experience with the platform. I was with a customer for a while. Now I'm in the consulting space. I've done public and private sector consulting. So it's been fun to get a little taste of everywhere. And as some of you may know, I run a ServiceNow focused YouTube channel called Alan where I release videos on architecture, governance, training, certifications, all that good stuff. So I'm excited to be here. And don't sell yourself short, Ishan and Harneet. You guys got MVP experience as well. So collaborated together, we've got a ton of MVP years combined for the group here. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah, definitely. All right. So, Hanit, over to you.
Thank you. And again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening for everybody who's watching here. Again, a big fan of Alan and Mark here. Obviously, I do watch every video Alan posts and again, every blog that Mark writes. My name is Harneet. I host this podcast with Ishan quite a few often now. I'm also a certified technical architect. I'm working with Accenture for about 3 years now. And totally I've been on the platform for about 7.5 years. Really excited about what the platform is, how it's growing up, and that is when I started contributing to the to the sort of the community first, and then I came into sort of putting out blogs, bringing in more people to our podcast, trying to get that word out. What ServiceNow is, what's really exciting about the platform that's coming out, different things around the ecosystem, and I think that's where Ishan and I go and you know sort of share our knowledge and obviously invite people like Alan and Mark on our podcast. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching us. What do you, Ishan?
All right. So, myself, Ishan, I'm a certified technical architect. Been with the platform for approximately 6 years now. I'm currently working with EY, and yeah, just enjoy working with the platform, the way it's going. So that's why I just do this podcast, and yeah, here today talk with Alan Ovation, and I would say Mr. Instant Scan or Mr. Virtual Agent, right? So yeah, without wasting any time, let's dive deep into it. So Neat, I'll hand it over to you.
Amazing. I think it will be a sort of Q&A, but again, most of us will be sharing our experiences as we go in the session, and towards the end, we'll start taking questions. And again, during the time as well, if people have got questions, feel free to start putting it up in the chat. But to start off, Alan, I see you on the screen first. So, Alan, what do you think, according to you, is an MVP, and then specifically, who is a ServiceNow MVP according to you?
Yeah, so ServiceNow MVP to me and has been now kind of defined as the de facto kind of definition is really someone with passion that goes beyond the line, right? And so I always say, and I say this in meetings with customers, I'll say, I have drank the Kool-Aid. So I am a ServiceNow fanatic. I live, breathe, eat, sleep it. I'm not even employed with ServiceNow, but it means that much to me that that's where I come from. And I feel that same vibe and aura from the other MVPs. These are people that go to work, but then they, in their free time, they're looking up things, they're advancing their own knowledge, they're trying to share that with others. They don't hoard things to themselves, and it's really about just empowering others, because ServiceNow, just years ago had still in some pockets has that startup vibe where it's like, hey, we need the power of the community to really get this thing going. And so for me, a ServiceNow community MVP is someone that doesn't just do this as their job, but they step beyond the line and they're doing more for themselves and the community at large. So a little bit of a ramble there, but that's how passionate I am, and that's what it means to me.
Amazing, Alan. That's really a good answer. I think everybody echoes to that because I think we've all been contributing to this program. And at least I've started last year, but again, I think the remaining three of you have been in the program for quite a while. So thanks for that. Mark, if I ask something around your experience, or how I mean, you've been here for almost on this cohort for about 8 years now. So you've been on MVP for 8 years, which is really, really cool. So obviously you're an mentor or sort of an idol for me. How your experience have been on the program? What kept you driving personally to contribute more and more to the program?
Yeah, it's more, I think, how it already started. Right? I started on ServiceNow, and I experienced so many resources out there, and especially, of course, the ServiceNow community website. And I didn't experience that before when I was working with other products. But at a certain moment, I was also thinking like, hey, how can I contribute myself? And can I answer questions myself? And can I, publish content? So I just started doing that, and that was pretty fun and worked really well. But I also discovered that by doing so, I'm actually also gaining a lot of knowledge. I'm getting a lot of feedback, a lot of fun feedback also. But also by writing a lot of articles or blogs, for example, I'm also working on my own skills. I have to dive into subjects way deeper, or I have to verify things, or maybe I'm not completely correct. I thought I knew something, but I didn't. But also, English is not my native language. So I also have to work on, those skills. How do you get a message across, right? So it's way more than only the technical bits or whatever. So I enjoyed that a lot. And I just kept on doing it because, I like it. And also, being an MVP gives extra motivation, and the people that you're connected with is a lot of fun and extra motivation. And you also really feel like you're inspiring, you're empowering, you're kind of leading. Because also what a lot of MVPs do, there's a new subject and people dive onto it. There's not that much documentation yet, so we're going to find out and we're going to write the documentation or finding the undocumented things, and that's a lot of fun. So it's just great to contribute and to be part of this. It's awesome.
And one thing, if you don't mind, I want to really echo something that Mark said, because he called out a really great point here, is that he said, hey, I might post this and I might be wrong. I may not know something. And so a lot of the times you'll hear people say, oh, I can't be an MVP, or I can't post an article, or I can't do this because I don't know it as a perfectionist. I don't know all the ins and outs, so I'm scared to do it because I don't know everything. And that's one of the things, another quality of a ServiceNow MVP is you have that confidence and courage to say, hey, I'm going to be a bit vulnerable. I'm going to put myself out there. I believe I'm pretty solid on it. We do our due diligence. We look things up, but there may be that one little system property or some little undocumented API or something that could do something better. But you take that step and you jump into it. And I want to call out somebody in the chat here. We have Joe Tittleton who says, hey, I'm in a cohort right now. I'm just getting going. This is my first of many events that I hope to get to. This is what I'm talking about. You guys, as hosting this podcast, other people doing other sessions, you're enabling others to get that message out there and say, hey, you may not know everything, but step into it. Get into the realm. Let's get around positive people because you're only going to be as strong as the people you associate yourself with. So let's get excited, make some articles, post some stuff, get out there, start creating content. You don't have to know everything. So great call out, Mark. And I just wanted to kind of jump on that for a moment.
Completely agree to this, Mark and Alan. I think that's exactly how Ishan would have started as well. And I think that's how I personally started as well. So again, the first year, I mean, it was 2019 when I started, understanding what an MVP is. The way I started contributing is on community answers. And I think as Mark and Alan, you've quite touched base on that bit already is how do we increase our own learnings when we do these things? So again, going into community, looking at questions, trying to answer them was basically increasing my understanding of the platform as well. Again, as I said, we might not know the bits and bobs of the overall platform, but again, when you go into community, start looking at questions, you start answering them, your thoughts starts growing, and again, you look at some different articles, documentations, and then you learn something as well. Now, at the back of these community answers, that is when I looked at some of the articles being written as well. And what I started doing is, again, if I was doing something on the project which seemed a bit different than usually a person would do, I started writing articles at the back of it. And soon I was introduced to blogs. I think a lot of people like yourself, Alan, I started following you guys on LinkedIn, Twitter, and then I understood that people actually post videos about those bits and bobs as well. And that is when I met Ishan and we started doing this amazing podcast. So completely equal to what exactly you've said, Mark and Alan. Ishan, if you would you like to add anything there?
Yeah, and I think it all started like we've got the community as well, but LinkedIn also plays a very important role in that. And I saw people creating some content, posting on. That's how it all started for me. With the I had a few blogs on the community before that, but actually the action started when I created my first YouTube video, and slowly there was second video, third video, and then there was a first meetup that I organized. We spoke at that meetup. Initially it's about you're very nervous when you're doing all that, but now it's just like just next day I can take up activity like that. So it's just about starting, right? So yeah, once you get into it, you just enjoy how the way it's going. So I spoke at Knowledge 22 last year and totally enjoyed it. Didn't expect me to do that over again, but I did at Knowledge 23 this year as well. So, and who knows, I might be there at Knowledge 24 as well. So yeah, it's nice. It's a enjoyable journey, like sharing your experiences, knowledge, and people are always appreciative in the community, right? So I have not seen anyone pulling the leg of the other guy, right? That you're not doing the right thing. Everyone appreciates if someone makes an effort contributing to community, answering a question, or it can be anything, right? Various ways to contribute, right? And that's how it all comes together as a community, as a program, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. I think the question that everybody had been waiting for quite a while, and the title of our podcast for today as well. Mark, I would like to get your opinion on, again, what exactly is MVP Program 2.0, because everybody, I mean, things have started popping up on social medias about this program now that it's getting revamped a bit. But if you would like to talk about a few bits and bobs that are changing in the program, how it's evolving in its nature, and then yeah, we'll go with Alan's view as well in a minute.
Yeah, maybe I can just start a bit with where these programs came from, and you can also just jump in, because I think in 2015 the community MVP program started, and then in 2020 I think the developer MVP program started. The community MVP program was originally a lot of focused around the community side, right? But as the years went on, people were doing YouTube videos, having their blogs elsewhere, etc. So those people were a bit missed out if you look at the community MVP program. While the community MVP program itself is really good, right? It's awesome and a really good recognition also. But that's also one of the things that why the developer MVP program started, to also feature those people who were doing other things than the community side. And the title says developer MVP, but actually not everyone is a developer, because actually also Robert Federick was a developer MVP. So it's, it says developer, but anyway. But over the years, you also felt like there are two different MVP programs, and that's also a bit confusing. Why are there two different MVP programs, right? But also on the ServiceNow side, there was a thought like, if we can combine this, don't we have then more resources, or can we get more out of this, or can we get to a next level? So that's part of the background on the ServiceNow MVP 2.0 program, and this is already going on for months or a year. It's not like something we did bam and it's done in 1 week. So we knew already that a while that this was coming, and also at Las Vegas at Knowledge this year, we really saw the community MVP program and the developer MVP program together, and it didn't feel like any barrier or whatever. It really felt pretty natural, pretty like one MVP group and program. I don't know, maybe some of you want to jump in, or on the sessions we did, or
Yeah. So I think I'll let Ellen, have a say on that. But on your last point, right, Mark? So when we were having those discussions that these programs are, coming together, even like I was a bit like, not what's going to happen, how things will turn out to be. But we were on the call the other day, and talking to the team, like community team, and so I did say that everything, that the transition has been so smooth that it didn't feel like we did a transition, right? So again, similar to what you just said, that we were all there together and didn't feel like they're two different groups, where it's just one group, right? So just calling it out. So it's
And that one MVP sort of feeling is coming into the program, which is obviously what you've highlighted, Mark rightly. So thank you for that. Alan, over to you for sharing your views about the program, and then also if you can a little bit touch base on how our experience have been. I think so some of the MVPs have contributed to how the program is shaping up, but then how was your experience throughout this?
Yeah, and so like Mark mentioned, right? So we had the two different programs. You had the community side that really was community forum focused. It was everything about the forums, answering questions, writing articles, things like that. And then the developer side, which I to be funny, I view them as like the cool kids. The developer side was like the cool side of everything, because they had the live shows with the live coding happy hour. They had the creator toolbox. You have Chuck, you've got Earl, you've got all these big names, and they did a great job with just enveloping people around them. You had the Slack channel, you had all these other people with the special programs that were going on, and so at that point, it was nice to bring everybody together. But just for a little jokiness, there was, if you've ever watched like the show Lost or anything like that, where basically you have like this one group that's been there this whole time, and then this new group comes in and they're all cool and doing all this neat stuff, and then you bring them together, and there was kind of like a not bad awkwardness, but there was like, oh yeah, you do that and you do that. And it was some of that, where you're bringing everybody together. And we worked through that, talk through all of that, and joined the programs together. And to get there, though, it was not just saying, hey, you've got program A and program B, let's just smash them together and hope for the best. ServiceNow had done extensive research on other communities, from Salesforce and other products that are out there, because let's be honest, ServiceNow wasn't first here, right? There's been other communities before. They've done that research on other areas to see what's positive, negative, and really to make this an innovative program. One of the benefits as being an MVP is that you get access to product roadmaps and things like that. That's all in the cool little link, the QR code that's up there. You can scan that and go right to the 2.0 kind of website that breaks everything out. But some of the benefits there is that you get to be a part of those discussions. So being an MVP, not only are you sharing your knowledge, but you get to get your say in it. You have a voice in the matter. And so ServiceNow broke us into different groups, and the MVPs collaborated and provided their insights into what we felt mattered in certain areas. And some of the neat things that came out of that was the 2.0 program. And so from there, it really took it came to be this holistic perspective. So before, we talked about the community forums, you're writing an article. So that's, people that may be good at typing, maybe the best at administration work and doing that kind of thing. Maybe they're still developer-y type focused. And then you have the dev side. They're like your coders and know all the different languages and the service portal and UI builder. They love that stuff, right? But there's a gap in some of the information that's out there as far as who can participate. What about the snug leaders, those people that are doing month after month after month or quarterly sessions hosting things? What about the BAs? What about the program managers, project managers, EMs, things like that? And so with the 2.0 program, it's basically busting the door wide open to say, hey, it's completely inclusive. If you've done any of these things consistently throughout the year and these different areas, join in. You're eligible for the MVP program. So you're going to see it really level up over 2024. And as more people, maybe there's going to be some that may miss it in 2024 because they didn't do it the whole year or something like that. But you're going to see in the next few years, it's going to level up the whole entire program, because we're going to get so many different personas and different things in here that it's going to make the program that much better. So it's a big change as far as that goes, and it's a better change for being more inclusive and getting people involved. So very excited for that.
Absolutely. I think, again, I think just to share a bit more insights, again, all of us here on this podcast have actually contributed to how that program will be shaped up. And again, I think obviously, I think, as I said earlier, there were a lot of MVPs who have come together and have sharing their inputs in terms of what they see in an MVP to become the actual MVP. And again, how do we actually club these two sort of programs that were running, and then how do we club them to make one MVP sort of a program? So, Ishan, sorry, I'll put you on spot for a minute.
No worries.
um, I think we were part of a group, right? How was your overall experience and sharing all the information and the stuff that we keep doing, right? I think it was basically just to summarize it in a better way. What do we
Mm.
do? And again, what other sort of things should be considered, um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. So
to
sure.
be an
So
MVP? Yeah.
yeah. So basically, like it's a contribution, right? So previously, like we had two separate areas. Again, community was more focused on the community. Then we had the developer MVPs, which were also counting in the community contributions, but they had like other things, which is developer meetups, live stream, podcast, speaking at CreatorCon. A community had speaking at Knowledge. I think they've also got writing a book. And the developer had Hacktoberfest. Like they have got their own activity, build with AES, build with RPA challenge, right? And What else is there? Contributing on Slack. So we have got SNDev Slack, right? All those things. Now they were two separate areas. These are all I can think of. I'm sure there would be one or two I've missed. Creating YouTube videos, right? Technical blogs, writing technical blogs. Also, all those things count up to the Dev MVP, and also on the community side, it's writing blogs on the community. Answering questions, helping others. So now they were separated by a thin line, I would say. Again, Ellen and Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So we have got a single program. So the idea is, your contribution across all these areas will be counted as a one. You will be counted as one ServiceNow MVP. There's no community or developer in the middle. It's gone away. And also in the chat, I just saw that Earl also wrote that MVP community is not just for dev, admins, architect. So it can be anyone, any doing anything. It can be a business analyst, it can be a consultant, non-technical person who is helping out with writing stories. It again doesn't have to be a technical person or an architect, or like that. So yeah, I mean, that's how things are going to change in the near future. Again, anything to add, Ellen, Mark? I'll open it for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to call out one thing from the chat there. So Joe, welcome to the live stream here, and for your first live event, they said, do you need to? Is it like some cool like little club or little special link you need to find to get into the community, the MVP program? Like, how do you get into it? And so it's basically what your participation is from January to November. And so you'll notice that I'm saying November is like, well, how's that the whole year? It's January to November, because ServiceNow has even thought of it to say, hey, people are going to get into the holidays and they may not do it every single month of the whole year. So they've even thought to that level to say it's January to November. Are you consistently providing content? And so on that website, when you scan that QR code, it'll take you to the MVP 2.0 website. It's going to give you a breakdown of what the criteria is, like where we're looking for people to help out. And so it could be that you're running snug groups, like I mentioned, doing those things. On December 1st, so in a couple of weeks from now, which is one of the benefits of you attending this live stream now, is you're getting inside access to what's going on, but then privy to the information about December 1st. That's when the application window opens. And so they've got an amazing new portal that's going to be there for submitting an application, and it'll ask you those questions and say, what's your name? Why do you think you should join? What have you done over the year? And so this is really where it's important. And I've said this before in a post that I've made. And in the Marines, I was in the United States Marine Corps for 8 years. As one of the things in the Marines, we had this thing called an I Love Me binder. And it was a binder of all the different training you've done, all the different certifications you've got, all the neat things you've done, so that you knew what you've done. And so when it's time for performance reviews at your own company, or now with the MVP program, you can just flip through that, or now have it electronically, of course, and know what you've done. I've written this article about this topic. I've done this video. I've done this many posts. I've done this. You can aggregate all of that information, put it into your application. It's essentially like you're selling yourself a little bit to let the MVP team know what you've done. And then at the end of the month, they'll close the applications. And then sometime in the next year, usually by the end of January or so, they'll announce the class for that next year, for 2024. So that's how you would get into it, is by your consistent contributions through the calendar year, January to November. And then in December, the application window opens, you fill it out, submit it, and then you get into it next year. I want to also say that it's not just, we are talking about the MVP program, but some people may go, whew, a year, that's a lot. That's a long time to do that. So maybe one of you two, I think Ishan, can talk just very briefly about the Rise Up, or the Rising Star program, and maybe just touch on that, because I don't want to exclude that, because ServiceNow's even thought about people that can't do a full year. Maybe you baby step into one of these other supplemental programs to get you going.
Yeah. So okay, Aneet, you're going at.
So I think maybe I can roughly talk about this because it was a stepping stone for me as well, because I initially became a community rising star and then went on to being an MVP. So what that program really, again, what this program is all about is sort of looking at your contributions at, again, so the selection criteria for the rising program happens twice a year. It's, I think, June or July is when the
July.
first batch comes out, and then towards the end of, again, with the MVP program as well, you got, again, the process is similar. You need to submit your application, put in the sort of things that you've done throughout the 6 month cycle, and yeah, at the end of the day, at the end of the selection criteria, you become a rising star. Obviously, you get certain benefits being a rising star as well, and that becomes your stepping stone to become an MVP. Again, not mandatorily, you shouldn't be like a rising star to become the MVP. But then the way that program helps you is, again, you start, uh, you know, uh, I think I had that sort of a thing. I was able to reach out to the other rising stars. I was able to understand how they are putting more efforts into the community, how they are doing stuff that probably I'm not doing, and that is where I understood that, from rising stars, if I want to become an MVP, these might be the sort of things that I might need to start putting more efforts on. So I think, yeah, I'll probably put in the link to the rising programs,
Yeah, yeah. I
the
mean,
bits
you
around it in the chat as well. Yeah,
it's part of the same team, right? It's just so you get into that group, you start interacting with the community team, you have
absolutely.
got monthly meetings again, so you get to know what's going up around in the community. So yeah, a bit of perks involved in that area as well, and again, there's a stepping stone of success, I would say, by becoming an MVP. So yeah, that's how it is. And yeah, so you start your contributions in January, you have to be consistent. And I think it's not difficult to be consistent if you love doing something. It just goes with the flow, right? So it becomes a part of your life,
Absolutely.
right? So writing a blog, creating a video, doing a podcast or live stream, it you just enjoy it to do it, right? So it's the 3 a.m. right now. So
Yeah, yeah, that's dedication, right? Yeah, I hope people understand here. This time that was chosen was because we have a global group between the four of us here, all across the globe, and those attending. Don't We've got some people that are in these other areas as well. So that's the dedication. And the hosts here are very lovely. They didn't say, "I'm going to pick a time that's good for me. I'm going to pick a time that works for the people coming on." So for me, it's 10:30 in the morning. I'm bright. I'm ready to go. The day is fantastic. There's birds chirping outside. I'm doing great. Harneet's got, or Ishan's got the other side of it where the birds are chirping, but it's because it's the roosters are calling almost to wake up for the next day. So big shout, and that's the dedication that's there. And to speaking of the Rising Star program, that stepping stone. When I first got started back in with the forum, not with ServiceNow, but more engaging with the forums and all of that, they had what was back then called a ServiceNow Leader Award. And so they did away with it. It's gone. So I'm one of the rare people that's got that a little exclusive badge on my profile. It says ServiceNow Leader. But that was basically the Rising Star program back then. It was a shout out, a call out to say, hey, over a 6 month period, you've done some great stuff. Here's the Leader Award. And that little nugget was, I gobbled that thing up. I was like, oh, I love it so much. It is fantastic. And that it got me excited about continuing on. So it is critical to have that kind of not instant gratification, but man, do I got to wait a whole year before I get a pat on the back, or can I get it a little bit sooner? And that's what the Rising Star program is. So don't let this MVP thing think, oh, a whole year, I can't do that. There are programs there to get you baby stepped into this thing, to put your toe in the water, check the pool out, get in here, and then you can kind of bloom into and blossom into the MVP thing. So great stuff there.
Mark or Alan, probably if one of you would like to take that question up. So I think Carlos is asking what's the difference between the Rising Star program and MVP. I think we have very briefly touched on this by sharing all our experiences as well. But then the second question is more around the amount of content published during the year, or is it more about how deep it goes in terms of the technical aspects?
Yeah, I think we touched on it already a bit, right? It's not necessarily the depth of the content. It's more like you're new around the corner, and indeed maybe you've just started publishing things or sharing things for 4 or 5 months. But yeah, you're missing out on the MVP program. But you're just starting around the corner, and hey, there's this Rising Star program. It's the first step, into these programs. Um, so actually, I think this is a good in between step instead of, yeah, you're missing out and, well, maybe next year. No, there's something in between. Actually, I was thinking like, hey, I want to be a rising star, but I'm missing out. So yeah, but yeah, it's not really about the in-depth uh, difference or something. No.
Yeah, and kind of as Earl mentioned, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. And that's a big thing, right? And to be honest, we can kind of touch on this briefly. I like where AI was going to come up at some point, right? We're going to talk about AI at some point. I think it's fantastic that there's tools there to utilize to, help you get the creative juices flowing. But the quality of it is showing what is your take on something. And so there's a lot of people, there's been videos about what is a business rule, right? There's been videos on how to do flow designer. There's been videos on all these different topics. But what makes it unique and really the content I think that stirs creativity and discussion is what is your take on it? What is your take on the business rule on when do you see it used and then versus flow designer? Because you could do one or the other, right? What's your opinion on when do you do one versus the other? Or is the new age and new wave going one way or the other? And why? So that's where the quality of the content comes into play, where you don't have to be a pro on these topics. Just coming up with an idea on something, give it your own little spin, and then call to action. What are you wanting people to do with what you're talking about? Do you want them to add a comment about issues they've seen, problems they've had with it? I think Mike does a great job as well. Mike Scudero does great with that and posting. What is your? I didn't think it was needed to write an article on this, but it seems to be that there's nothing out there, and you find a gap. So now write something on what's covering, cover the gap that's there. And that was one of the things with another community program, was through a different team, but it was the community contributed content program, where David and some other members from the ServiceNow team had this thing and said, hey, we're looking for outside people to create videos or content for Now Learning. And so I jumped at that because I was like, dude, how cool will it be to have your own Now Learning course? Like, that was so awesome, because prior to that, the only external people that got to do that were CMAs. And it was really like a few people from like a couple of the early cohorts where they were in that platform implementation. So there's a platform implementation Now Learning course where you'll see some CMAs guest appear on that. And so for me, I said, well, there's a gap in the business analyst side of things, because everything was very techy and devy and all that kind of stuff. I was like, well, there's a gap in some of these non-technical areas. And so I ended up getting a Now Learning course on project roles and responsibilities for a business analyst. And that's actually been one of my most performing videos on my channel, is around the BAs, because there's a gap there. So the point that I'm getting at is that quality of the content is great, not the quantity, but what you're doing, what you're saying, covering a gap. That's going to be something that's really going to go far, and that means a lot to the ecosystem as well. So.
And I think just to complement that a little bit, right? Again, even if you are not going for MVP program and you just want to share something that you have learned just with the wider forum, again, when somebody appreciates you sharing those information, actually gives you a boost as well. So because when I started contributing, obviously it was the community where I started from. So I started creating articles, I started answering. I obviously understood that a lot of people were not able to get through those points. So just to give you an example, I think it was more around the GCP cloud discovery. So I've seen, again, when I started doing it for the customer that I was doing it for, not a whole lot of blogs were available at that moment. Not a whole lot of people were answering the questions in that specific domain or that's some specific product line. And that is when I was doing it on the project, I obviously learned, did mistakes. I went on to the blog, and that is where I started writing those things off. Again, what it helped me is, again, learn the bits and bobs about that bit, because again, when you research, you're able to understand that concept quite well, and then again answer at the back of these articles, because again, people are being stuck on those points, and again, answering them to get them out of that sort of block is what kept me going personally. And again, it can be anything for you. You like creating videos, you like creating content at the back of it. And again, I think there are various other things that Ishan has rightly pointed out a bit earlier. So there are a lot of things that you can contribute to. It's not just about contributing, technically writing blogs or creating content by videos, but I think you've also got research groups. ServiceNow has got innovation labs that they run. Again, if you want to, um, if you have done for a customer, you've been working on a CSM project, and if you want to give feedbacks about what's new coming on the CSM platform, there are research groups being formed for this. Obviously, you can contribute to that. The other bits, again, I think Ishan has rightly said out earlier, was around contributing to being a developer, hosting developer meetups. Again, you can be an attendee as well, because you go ahead, you learn something there. So again, it starts with baby steps. But again, Alan, Mark, if you would like to add any more bits and pieces around what that new criteria would be looking like, again, it's available on the website. But again, if any sort of additional things that you would like to add to it, Alan, first you.
Yeah, maybe one thing good to
Okay.
mention is because we are already mentioning a lot of criteria, right, or ways you can contribute. But if you're going to apply for the MVP program, you don't have to tick all the boxes. You don't have to do everything, right? Because there's a huge list of ways you can contribute, but you don't have to do everything. Obviously, it helps if you do multiple things, right? If you're only answering questions or if you're only writing articles, yeah, it will help if you do multiple things, but you don't have to do all the 20 or 30 different criteria and ticking all of them. No, 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 please don't.
Yeah.
Because that's also something, right?
Mhm.
Pick your battles and what can you do and where can you bring huge quality, where can you accelerate in, right? Because else you're trying to tick every box and it will be more about, yeah, the quantity and just ticking it because you want to tick it or something, but not, yeah, you know. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, then sorry.
I just wanted to add, that's the key here, because what ends up happening, and it's happened to me before, and you'll see it through the production of my videos. I'll be one every 2 weeks, then it starts to go one a month, and then all of a sudden it's like, this dude disappeared for like 2 months. What the heck, is he okay? What happened? What you can get overcommitted. You set your own expectation, you set your own schedule, and sometimes you can get a little too hungry and you can get too ambitious and you'll burn yourself out. So we say commonly that ServiceNow and the product lineup, the roadmap, your career, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So it is not where you need to be sprinting to try to hurry up and get into a program today or tomorrow, right? It's the long-term vision. Be strategical, not tactical in your approach to your career. And so doing little nibbles, little bites along the way. And I had talked about this at the ServiceNow user group virtual session last year that Chuck Tomasi and Tracy O'Brien hosted, where it was about setting up a drip feed. And it was basically, how can you get started? A lot of it's just being aware of the ways you can contribute, because you may not know. And so setting up a drip feed by following people on LinkedIn and Twitter, now X, and all that good stuff, following people, just being a part of the hashtag and the communities that are there, that's going to start to get you exposed to things people are talking about, and then that helps drive it from there. So as far as like Mark saying, yeah, that was one of the questions right away, was, is the message of the new criteria accidentally saying or implying that you needed to do all of these things? And it's quite the counter to that. It's literally telling you all of the ways that you could do it and how more inclusive it is to do. And we want people from everywhere. That's just my own opinion. I'm sure it's everyone else's. We want
Yeah.
people from all over that are doing some of these things. So I'm super excited to see new MVP people jumping in the pool that are from some of these kind of fringe areas that we didn't have members from before. And so that's kind of my take on it. Ishan, back to you for that.
Yeah, one of the things I just looking at my T-shirt I can remember is the developer mentorship program. So you can also contribute as a mentor or a mentee. Join the developers mentorship program that ServiceNow has. Get your career up to a speed. Get talking about experiences with your mentor. So that's also a way you are contributing to the community. So I think, yeah, okay.
And another way, just to really, I love this stuff. I get so passionate. It's really about everyone being strategical in your career. And what I mean by that, so I mentioned earlier, I made it into CMA. We've got 2 people that are CTAs on this live stream right now. So we've got 3 people in the expert programs. Part of the expert program is the ability to do public speaking, right? Write content for your slide decks, do research, be able to communicate and work, collaborate with others. So if your ambition at some point, whether it's an expert program like the Certified Master Architect or Certified Technical Architect, or within your own organization, you want to be a leader, a lead developer, a lead architect, principal architect, you want to start engaging in different ways. How can you grow beyond just every day I clock in, I do some ServiceNow stuff, I clock out, I leave? How can you really take the reins and control on your career? Don't wait for your job to say, hey, we'd love for you to write 10 articles and join the MVP program. I'm gonna be honest with you, no company's going to do that. They're not going to sit there and say, hey, do all this stuff and get recognition and build your own personal brand and be you. They're not fully going to say that. You have to take the reins on this and do that by attending live streams like this, communicating with others, building that champion network and excitement network there. That's what you're going to have to do. And so this MVP program, including the Rising Star program, is the steps to a bigger you, a better you, a bigger challenge that's out there. These things, my involvement in the MVP community helped me stand out in the CMA program, because when I got into it, people were like, oh crap, Alan's here. Like, I know who he is. And some of the instructor people were like, who? And they were, other people were like, that's Alan. You don't know Alan? And it helped you out. You have to submit for CMA. You have to submit a video of why you should join, why they should pick you. And so imagine the amount of firepower and ammo you have on your application and your video when you're saying, I've spoken at Knowledge because of encouragement from the MVP program team members, where they've helped get us on stage, help get us in front of product people. I've done these types of discussions with the C-suite. I've done this, I've done these types of articles. That is true power for your career. So the MVP program, I feel, is critical to you really challenging yourself and getting out there. So that's one of the big things I wanted to call out, as well, is that the people that are a part of MVP, look at the names. Look at the names that are there. You're going to see that they're probably in the expert programs. They're probably freelancing and running their own companies, running their own organization. I think, Mark, you're big into freelancing. Like, you feel confident, and you got to be pretty proud of yourself and confident to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to build my own schedule. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to control my own destiny. Those are the people that are in the MVP program, those movers, shakers, thought leaders, people that are confident. That's the group that's here. And so that's who we're looking for.
Yeah. And I can just to highlight, while we're talking about the benefits. So one thing from Earl. So Earl is, as we all know, he's a ServiceNow developer advocate, senior developer advocate at ServiceNow. And, it was just 1.5 years after being an MVP, he got in position in ServiceNow. So, it has also helped with the career growth in, terms of a job or getting into ServiceNow, which I think many of us would love to, working at the product based company. Yeah.
I
And
think
that's
just
another thing, because people say, you know, what, like, yeah, you get to share the knowledge, you get to share information with others, but what's in it for me? It's the with them, right? What is in it for me? And so beyond self fulfillment and satisfaction from creativity, some of this helps in other ways. I'm gonna. It doesn't sound like it, doesn't look like it from this live stream or this call because I'm around friends here, but I'm an introvert. I don't actually do well in large groups, and I'm very quiet. I'll sit in the corner. Uh, you know, uh, I've got things around that where I'm not the best with that. But the MVP program with the dinner and the meetings that we have, the monthly meetings, there's actually periods during the meeting where it's like, okay, hey, we're going to break out and now you're going to meet someone else. When the two programs came together, they didn't just say good luck everybody, and if you know somebody, you know somebody. There was like they purposely were matching people up with others to create that unity. And so if you have a thing where you're an introvert, you don't really like to talk to loud groups and all that kind of stuff, and you're like over in the corner, I'm with you, I hear you. This will help you break out of that a little bit, and it also helps you with networking, because some of the parts of being an MVP is you got to be able to network too. You got to be able to connect with others and go from others. You would think the four of us, we seem like the best of friends. We all went to elementary school together. We know each other the whole time. We don't know each other that extensively well, but we know each other from what we do. The respect is there, and we talk to each other quite often through the program. You have to network also in all of what you're doing and engagement with the community. So that's another step as well.
Yeah. So, Mark, I also see, we're talking about freelancing, and I saw on your profile at times it says, available from this date, right? So it keeps on changing, and which is like you keep on getting work as well. So, how, like, just to highlight, how this program has helped you, or in terms of, you leading your work or a business.
Yeah. It helps in multiple parts, right? Now I'm working for 1.5 years as a freelancer, but before I was just working at the consultancy company, and I don't know how it works around the globe for every company, but like in this part of the world, everyone has a personal development plan. You have to work on your soft skills, your hard skills, and this is the path you're going, etc. And most often it's driven by the company. The company decides what you are going to do, and your input or your influence is really limited. But with this MVP contributions, with the activities, with the knowledge or the resources that you get your hands on, I'm actually taking control over my personal development program. I'm actually deciding in which direction I want to grow. It's not the company anymore who is steering me in a certain direction. And sure, I have to work on my technical skills, but also what I mentioned, right? English is not my native language. So I'm also already working on, a soft skill. So different kind of, skills or parts I'm, developing and working on. And I'm taking control over that. So that was one of the huge benefits that I liked most about this, and also because you're really enthusiastic about this, you really want to do this instead of you have to do this for your company,
Yeah.
you have to do that, and no, I really want to do this, right? So you also really get way more out of it. Yeah, now for 1.5 years I'm a freelancer, and I must say I underestimated how much the MVP program means also on that, because I hardly do any recruitment or whatever myself. The
Mm.
most assignments are just companies coming directly to me. So far in this 1.5 year, I only did once a part-time assignment through a recruiter. All other things are just directly, and a big part of that is being an MVP, because people know you, people know what you're publishing, people know what the level is, etc. So that really helps a lot, and I actually underestimated how much that means. That really helps a lot.
Nice.
And that's a big thing and that's another thing for your resume, right? Like everybody's going to have years of experience. Everybody's going to have X number of certifications. There may be a special call out or two to some major cost savings, thing that you've done for a company. But the MVP program being on there, and especially it just gets better and better, consecutive years of it, how many articles you've written, that you've shown thought leadership, that you've spoken to knowledge and things like that. It's literally going to blow your career like a rocket boost. And I know ServiceNow is known to just have the rocket. If you think of ServiceNow and what emoji icon would be more commonly associated, it's the rocket ship, right? That's literally what it's going to do. It's like you saw it going, it was going up to space, and you took a lasso and said, "Oh, hold on," and you got onto it, and you're hitching a ride on there, and you're going up with the thing, because that's what the MVP program does. I've had multiple interviews where they'll get to me and they'll start looking over things, and then it like clicks a little bit. And they're like, "Oh, normally we have this technical interview where we ask them to take this Excel spreadsheet and throw it into a transform map and do this and do that. But we know you, we know your criteria, we know you know your stuff, right? So let's skip to how you can help." And then for me, it levels up that conversation where I can say, "Great, now let me actually interview you," because it's a two-way street here. So you really start to gain control in the interview. And with Rise Up, ServiceNow wants to skill up 1 million people on the platform by the end of 2024. The big question everybody needs to say is, how can you differentiate yourself? How can you be different than the other people to your left and right? And engaging, being selfless, and helping out and contributing in the community. This is that little nook that's gonna be not of a loophole necessarily, but it's gonna help you get around some of that and push you forward. So you get a lot of big wins out of the MVP program, in addition to the networking and all that other great stuff. And as Earl mentioned, the friends part of it. Yeah, there's definitely people that are very close friends from it. You can feel it, and that helps make it more of a community. It's like a little team. It's like a family inside the MVP program. So
Nice.
That was really nicely said, Alan. I think all the analogies that you've used there on the podcast today, I think they're all very much relatable to me. I'm pretty sure it'll be relatable to Mark and Ishan as well. So again, probably I think we are on time, but I would just like to open it for a few more questions before we end for today. But Alan, Mark, Ishan, again, thank you so much for joining. Again, I know it's been odd times for most of us. So again, thanks for making this time to share your experiences with the community. And yeah, I think obviously the selection for next year would be starting pretty soon. I think December 1st, if I'm not mistaken. Again, if you wanted to understand a bit more around the program, the criteria that will be going around it, obviously you've got the link over there. Please scan it. And again, Alan, Mark, Ishan, and I think we're always available on LinkedIn to answer any questions. Feel free to reach out to us. And again, we'll be happy to help you out. And again, I think Earl has clearly called this out. Even if you have got slightest of doubt that would you become an MVP for your contributions, go ahead and submit your application this year. You never know. I think as Earl was also mentioning earlier, it's the quantity over the quality over the quantity. I think that's what the criteria is for this year. So just go ahead and submit your applications. But yeah, thank you so much.
All
Shan, have you got
right.
any questions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just going through the chat while we are talking. So, and thanks, Earl. I think Earl has also taken up a lot of questions
a lot
in
of
there
questions.
already. Thanks, Earl, for.
I was trying to filter them through as we were going. But yeah, the main takeaway here is, please uh, don't wait to be 100% perfectionist on it.
Yeah,
That's a problem that I deal with a lot, where I'm like, ugh, I got to do another video, but it's got to be one up better than the last one. And don't, don't pressure yourself. Don't stress yourself out. Breathe. And this is stuff I'm telling myself: breathe. You've got it. Just baby step it. And I would love to see people in the next 60 days come up with a post, an article, a video, whatever your favorite flavor of social media content, a short, a TikToky, whatever, I don't know what they're called, but a TikTok thing, do one of those. That's how cool I am. I don't even know what the name of it is, but do something in the next 60 days. Challenge yourself And really, let's get 2024. Let's jump. Let's get excited, and let's hold on to that lasso, because that rocket's still going. So I'm going to always be holding on. Hold on to it, and let's keep going. So I hope everyone has a great holiday season coming up, and a very shining 2024. And as Harneet mentioned, we are here to help you out. If you have any questions, let us know. Feel free to reach out. And thank you again for having me on this. It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Harneet, for joining. So
Absolutely.
yeah, until next time. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you everyone for joining here,
Thank you.
and have a nice evening.